partner PwC Associate Chairman, joining us now on Direct Tax. Rahul, great to have you with us. Lots of big announcements with regards to taxation for the middle class. Let me get some of your key takeaways. I mean, the headline also was that they won't be implemented till the new regime. Still giving everyone something to look forward to, of course, but just talk us through the key changes and the implications.
The adoption of that.
All right, let me go back across to Rahul in just a moment.
This budget's formulation.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Rahul. We were unable to hear you, but I think we've got the audio back now.
Right. So the new tax regime for individuals that the government instituted a few years back was not taken up by too many people. And now we find that this budget has given a new dose where almost everybody would rush for a new tax regime by providing that if you have an income up to 7 lakhs, there is no tax. And then you also find that the new budget concession has also reduced the number of slabs for the new tax regime, and that also makes it easier for people to find as to how much taxes they would end up paying. So I would say on an overall basis, the budget has given a big boost to the new regime of the tax, and also it has given a big boost to the people because they would save taxes in the new regime, and which will help them cope up with a bit of inflation they suffered last year. But more than that, I also suppose that a lot of provisions in the budget would also go a long way कि inflation का burden लोगों पर कम हो, middle class पर inflation का burden कम हो, और उसकी वजह से भी लोगों को सुकून मिलेगा महंगाई से, टैक्स की बचत होगी साथ साथ, और दोनों चीज़ें मिला के बजट को एक उत्सव की तरह बना दिया.
Absolutely. So, just talk through, Rahul, in terms of, she explained, of course, the surcharge and, how in some of those slabs you'd only end up paying a 5% or a 10%. But, everyone may not be able to avail of a surcharge. So, will the full benefit of these new slabs and cuts actually pass through? How much of a difference will it really make?
So typically you would find that each individual person would do his own maths, but by and large in most of the cases it would be beneficial or more attractive to go through the new tax regime. Even for the highest tax bracket, as you saw, that reduction in the surcharge rate is coupled with the option for the new tax regime. So I would say that for most people, the new tax regime would become more attractive unless they are peculiarly placed in a situation where they don't want to opt for the new tax regime. One more thing I would though add quickly, particularly for individuals, perhaps it wasn't noticed as much that the capital gain tax exemption, which is there for housing, and in housing if you sell a house and buy another house you would not pay capital gain tax subject to certain conditions. That exemption has been capped now only up to 10 crores, which means that if there is a capital gain arising from sale of a house, then despite the fact that you may choose to buy another residential house, but if the new residential house that you buy and the capital gain that you earn, all that exceeds 10 crore of rupees, you may not get the capital gain tax exemption earlier, because earlier there was no limit to that. So I could have sold a house for 100 crores and bought another house for 100 crores, I would still be exempt from capital gain. But now that would not be the case for individuals who deal in the high value properties for residential house for the tax exemptions.
Rahul, is there anything else you would have liked to see in this budget? I mean, it's the last full budget just before, of course, election year. So, this is really the, the big headline when it comes to the taxation front in the new regime, and I keep emphasizing that. Do you think perhaps there was still expectation of more?
I don't think there is always an expectation of more in terms of taxes. Everybody wants it to be less and less. But I think the overall balancing of the tax collection and even the next year's tax budgets, they look reasonable and realistic and not too aggressive. The tax collection in this year, which has been slightly better, I think has been used partly to give the tax concession, and has also been used very, very wisely to increase the capex and put in the welfare schemes which are really touching the lives of the people in general. So I would say on an overall basis, it fully meets my expectation and more.
Okay, fair enough. So meets your expectations, and of course will be a boost as well coming in. Of course, we also didn't see anything on capital gains, which came as a huge relief to the market. We are seeing some changes when it comes to the TCS on overseas travel. So that has gone up to 20% versus 5% on overseas travel. So there is going to be some pressure coming in on that front. But clearly for the individual and for the middle class and for the individual taxpayer, we have seen a bit of relief coming in. On the slabs as well, Rahul, if I could just have you talk us through how she's reduced the slabs from 6 to 5, and of course we talked about some of the tax rates also coming down across those slabs. Who do you think is going to benefit the most from this change?
So of course we follow a progressive taxation regime, and in progressive tax regime the people as they grow up in their income, the tax they end up paying is higher and higher, and even in the reduced tax slabs they have followed the same principle that higher is the income, higher is the tax, and the peak tax rate of 30% is achieved or is attained once you cross 15 lakhs of income. So I would say that progressive nature of it has been retained, just the number of slab has been reduced.